Hello, and welcome to the Intel Briefing, your daily intelligence brief on global geopolitics. I'm your host, Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence. Every weekday, we bring you not just the news, but the so what from events and decisions that shape our world. The brief will be short and sharp, allowing you to stay informed and up to date on the go. So grab a coffee and get ready to be informed. In today's update, we'll be covering the anti-whaling activist Paul Watson, who has been arrested in Greenland, the Bangladeshi student protests, who have halted for 48 hours, and top Democrats backing Kamala Harris after Biden withdrew. So the first story. Prominent environmental activist Paul Watson, known for his confrontational tactics against whaling ships and for his appearance in reality TV shows, was arrested in Greenland by police when his ship docked in the town of Nuuk. His foundation, the Captain Paul Watson Foundation, reported that more than a dozen police officers boarded his ship, which was on its way to the North Pacific to intercept a new whaling vessel. Watson, a 73-year-old Canadian American, and his 25 volunteer crew members were all taken into custody, sparking statements from his foundation urging the Danish government, which governs Greenland, to release him, calling the arrest politically motivated. The arrest is believed to be linked to a former red notice issued for Watson's anti-whaling activities in the Arctic region. Greenland police have stated that he would face a district court where a decision on his potential extradition to Japan would be considered. Watson has a history of legal troubles related to his activism. In 2012, he was arrested in Germany on an extradition warrant for Costa Rica. After being released on bail, he fled Germany, defying terms of his release. So what? This is a tricky situation, as when does a country have the right to use an international arrest warrant, and when is it abusing the system for its own personal gain? Personally, I think that the country should only enforce the red notice if the country itself accepts that it is a crime, and in most countries, whaling is considered a crime, so Watson shouldn't be held for his anti-whaling activity. While challenging, it is likely that Greenland, and by extension Denmark, are in a tricky situation, having now arrested Watson, and they will likely face quite a significant backlash for doing so. Next, a student group leading the protest in Bangladesh against the government's job quota system has announced on Monday that it has withdrawn its call for a complete government shutdown. The decision followed a week of unrest that resulted in dozens of deaths, prompted authorities to enforce an internet crackdown and a curfew. The country's Supreme Court responded to the protests by scaling back the controversial quota system on Sunday, reducing the percentage of government jobs reserved for certain groups. Hassan Abdullah, a coordinator for the anti-discrimination student movement, communicated to the Associated Press that the group was suspending their shutdown calls, but has issued a 48-hour ultimatum demanding an end to the digital crackdown and the restoration of internet connectivity. Abdullah also called for the withdrawal of security forces from universities and the reopening of student dorms. The group's demands included the lifting of the curfew and the restoration of internet access to ensure normalcy for students and the public. Nahid Islam, the leader of one of the student groups, told AFP that the decision to halt the protest was driven by the high death toll resulting from the unrest, with nearly 140 fatalities reported by local hospitals. Islam emphasized that the movement aimed to reform the job quota system without causing such extreme bloodshed and damage. The protests initially erupted after a court reinstated the quota system that reserves a significant portion of civil jobs for the families of those who fought in the 1971 Bangladeshi Liberation War, a system that was abolished by the government in 2018. But was reintroduced last month. The Supreme Court's ruling now limits the reserved quota to a much smaller percentage, aiming to address the students' concerns while maintaining some level of reservation. So what? While it is unlikely that this will be a complete end to the current violence, it is possible that the government's reversing and slowing down of the system will go a long way to appeasing protesters. Though it is possible that the protesters will take this opportunity to gain more concessions from the government, it is also possible that this would lead to a renewed crackdown by police and an uptick in violence. And on to our last story. In what was to some a surprising political development, President Joe Biden announced his withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race, citing a desire to pass the leadership torch on to the next generation. His decision left the Democratic Party in need of a new frontrunner, which quickly led to the support for Vice President Kamala Harris. Top Democrats say they recognize her experience and leadership and rallied behind her, emphasizing her capability to carry forward the party's vision. This endorsement has marked a pivotal move, positioning Harris as the new Democratic leader ahead of upcoming elections. Biden's decision came after careful consideration of the political landscape and his personal reflections on the future direction of the country. In his announcement, he expressed confidence in Harris's ability to unify and lead the nation. The endorsement from influential Democrats underscores their commitment to maintaining the party's momentum in addressing key national issues such as healthcare, climate change, and economic equality. Harris's candidacy has been seen as a continuation of the Biden's administration policies, with an added focus on innovation and progressive values. So what? This is a tall ask for Harris, as almost all polls put her well behind Donald Trump in the upcoming election. While there had been rumours of other candidates such as Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama, Harris seems like an easy pick for the Democrats. It is likely that Biden stepping down is only to avoid further damage to the party, and that Harris is possibly being used as a pawn by the party in what can be seen as an already lost election. Thank you for listening to the Intel Briefing, your daily intelligence brief on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, tell your friends to help them stay informed, and leave us a 5-star review. Or if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced, and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.